Mark 9, verse 1 through 13. And he said to them, Truly I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see that the kingdom of God has come with power. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and led them up a high mountain, where they were all alone. There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. And there appeared before them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. Then a cloud appeared and covered them, and a voice came from the cloud, This is my son whom I love, listen to him. Suddenly, when they looked around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus. As they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus gave them orders not to tell anyone what they had seen until the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept the matter to themselves, discussing what rising from the dead meant. They asked him, Why do the teachers of the law say that Elijah must come first? Jesus replied, To be sure, Elijah does come first and restores all things. Why then is it written that the Son of Man must suffer and be rejected? But I tell you, Elijah has come, and they have done to him everything as they wished, just as it is written about him. God bless the reading of his word. Mark 9, 1 through 13. The day begins when Jesus takes Peter, James, and John for a hike. Peter, James, and John think that it will be one of those little hikes that Jesus takes them around Galilee. However, the hike becomes a bit more challenging. Jesus takes them up this mountain. It is quiet on top of this mountain. There is no one there except Peter, James, John, and Jesus. Suddenly, two things happen that totally shock the disciples and make them frightened. This is how Mark reports the incident. His clothes become dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. And there appeared before them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. Mark 9, 3-6. Jesus' clothes become dazzling white. Mark tells us that his clothes become whiter than any bleaching could do. The real Moses and Elijah from the Old Testament appear on this mountain. Jesus talks with them. Peter, James, and John become frightened. Many years ago, there was a movie called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It showed how some scientists communicated with an alien spaceship. The spaceship lands. There is this scene in the movie where the spaceship opens its doors. The bright light from the doors of the movie shines into the movie theater. Everything in the movie theater becomes bright and white. It is no longer dark or black in the movie theater. It is no longer dark or black on this mountaintop. Mark tells us that Jesus is transfigured before his disciples. His clothes become dazzling white. Not only does Jesus' clothes become dazzling white, they see Moses and Elijah appear together with Jesus on this mountain. Moses and Elijah are two major figures from the Old Testament. Moses leads the people out of slavery in Egypt and brings them to the promised land of Canaan. Do you remember how Moses is called to lead Israel? God appears to Moses in a bright burning bush on Mount Sinai. Exodus 3. The brightness of Jesus' clothes on this mountain reminds us of the brightness of the burning bush on Mount Sinai. Elijah appears in a time when God is ignored in Israel. God blesses Elijah to do many miracles, including the challenge to the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. The physical idol of Baal remains silent. However, God hears Elijah's prayer and brings down his fire to burn up the altar of sacrifice. 1 Kings verse 18. Elijah does not die. Instead, he is brought up into heaven with the chariots and horses of fire. 2 Kings 2 verse 11. No wonder Peter, James, and John become frightened. They are experiencing close encounters of the heavenly kind. When I was growing up in Malaysia, my parents would send my brother and me to Bible camps during our school holidays. Some of these Bible camps were held in Bible conference sites in the hills. As you know, Malaysia is located close to the equator and experiences hot, humid weather. Many people take the opportunity to go to the hills for vacation where it is cooler and refreshing. When we went to these Bible camps, we met other teenagers from all over Malaysia. We went on hikes, sang worship songs, and listened to Bible teachers. These Bible camps were spiritually refreshing experiences for us. We sensed that God was with us as we heard God's word opened to us and as we saw his creation on our hikes. We wish we could stay on this mountaintop forever rather than face the real world below. When we went down, we knew that we would see our friends again at next year's Bible camp. This was the ebb and flow of life when I was growing up. We moved from this year's Bible camp to the next year's. Although he is petrified at the transfiguration of Jesus and the appearance of Moses and Elijah, Peter also senses the closeness of God on this mountain. A cloud covers them. God then speaks directly to them. A cloud also covered Mount Sinai when God spoke to Moses and gave him the 10 commandments. This cloud shows that God is present. Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." He did not know what to say. They were so frightened. Mark 9, 5-6. Yes, we move from one worship experience on a Sunday to the next worship experience the following Sunday. We too experience the ebb and flow of life. In between Sundays, when things become difficult, we wonder if God is present. We ask the question, where is God? Is he there? Does he care? The Bible students tell us that it is important that Moses and Elijah appear with Jesus at the Transfiguration. When we read the Gospels, we sometimes hear Jesus referring to the Old Testament as the law and the prophets. The law refers to the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament. The prophets are the next group of books which tell the story of Israel and the kings. Stories about Moses appear in the book of Exodus in the Torah. Stories about Elijah appear in the 2 books of Kings in the prophets. Therefore, the appearance of Moses and Elijah in the Transfiguration represent the Old Testament. How does this relate to Jesus? Why do Moses and Elijah appear at the Transfiguration? Mark 9, 7-8. Then a cloud appeared and covered them, and a voice came from the cloud. "This is my son, whom I love. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus. Mark 9, 7-8. The cloud appears. God speaks to them. "This is my son, whom I love. Listen to him." The cloud disappears. Moses and Elijah are no longer there. It is only Jesus and his 3 disciples. "This is my son, whom I love." Have we heard these words before? Yes, at the baptism of Jesus. Mark 1, 10-11. Just as Jesus was coming up out of the water, he saw heaven being torn open and the Spirit descending on him like a dove. And a voice came from heaven, "You are my son, whom I love. With you I am well pleased." At his baptism and transfiguration, God says to Jesus and his followers, "You are my son, whom I love. This is my son, whom I love." The love of God for his son is so loudly expressed at both the baptism and the transfiguration. However, at the transfiguration, God goes one step further. "This is my son, whom I love. Listen to him." Listen to him. Moses and Elijah represent the message of the Old Testament. Now Jesus appears. Jesus is the beloved Son of God. God has become a human being. He has come to live with his people. Through this transfiguration experience, God tells us that someone greater than Moses and Elijah is here. The message of the Old Testament told through Moses and Elijah is now replaced by the message of the Son of God, Jesus. This is my Son whom I love. Listen to him. From now on, don't listen to Moses. From now on, don't listen to Elijah. In fact, Moses and Elijah point to Jesus. Listen to Jesus. Heaven opens. God becomes a human being in Jesus. God comes to be with his people whom he created. The people whom God created are lost. We think that we can live our lives without God. That is a lie. We cannot live without God. This is my Son whom I love. He has come to be with you. Listen to him. Jesus is the Son who extends the love of God to us. Jesus comes from the very heart of God in heaven. When we see Jesus, we see God. When we connect with Jesus, we connect with the very heart of God. Through Jesus, heaven comes down to be with us. The last prophet of the Old Testament is Malachi. He predicts that Elijah will come in glory before the last days. Malachi 4 verse 5, the last verse of the Old Testament. They see Elijah at the transfiguration. They think that this power and glory is coming soon. So they ask the question. And they asked him, why do the teachers of the law say Elijah must come first? Mark 9 verse 11. Jesus tells them that the power and the glory they are expecting is not like what they think it is. Mark 9:12 to 13. Jesus replied, to be sure, Elijah does come first and restores all things. Why then is it written that the Son of Man must suffer much and be rejected? But I tell you, Elijah has come, and they have done to him everything they wished, just as it is written about him. The Elijah of the New Testament has come. He is John the Baptist. Look at what they do to John. Jesus refers to John the Baptist's suffering and beheading at the hands of King Herod and his wife Herodias. Jesus says that just as John the Baptist suffers and dies, Jesus, the Messiah, the Son of Man, also suffers and be rejected by the people. Although they have seen Jesus transfigured on this mountain, Jesus reminds them that they are now coming down the mountain. They face the same type of life John the Baptist faced. In fact, John models the type of life Jesus, the Son of Man, will experience. Jesus will suffer and be rejected by the Jerusalem temple authorities. Tomorrow is Transfiguration Sunday in the church calendar. Lent begins this coming Wednesday, which is Ash Wednesday. Lent is when we remember Jesus going through the 40 days of testing and fasting in the wilderness. In some churches on Ash Wednesday, you can get ashes placed on your forehead in the form of a cross. These ashes are from the palm branches used to celebrate Palm Sunday the year before. On Ash Wednesday, the palm branches are no longer fresh and green. The palm branches are burned and are in ashes. The Jesus of Palm Sunday is about to become the Jesus of Good Friday. Jesus is there at the Transfiguration. However, as they come down from the mountain, Jesus reminds them that they are leaving this mountain and going down to where there will be suffering and rejection. However, they are not alone as they experience suffering and rejection. The Jesus of Good Friday is with them. That is a life that we all experience as we move from Sunday to Sunday. We will all have our transfiguration experiences with God. However, this experience of the transfiguration does not last forever. When we come down from the mountain, Jesus is still with us. He is Jesus of Good Friday as well as Jesus of Transfiguration. Transfiguration Sunday. We are not alone as we live our lives in between Sundays. The Jesus of Good Friday is with us. Amen.